So guess what? We got two poets today, Rich Villar, Bonafide Rojas, and this is our last reading for the semester. So let's make it a good one. Let's give them some good attention, provide some good energy. Some of you guys are familiar with Rich's work because we read his book, right? So you should definitely have a couple of questions for him. And Bonafide Rojas is probably one of the first. I told him this early. His book was one of the first books that I read early on when I was trying to figure out what I was going to be doing in poetry and how I was going to make my way. He had a book called Pelo Bueno. I read that along with Amir Baraka. I'm gonna tell you the books I read. That one, Amir Baraka, Willie Perdomo's Smoking Lovely, right? A couple others. But anyway, you guys are in for a treat. Bonafide Rojas is the author of Renovatio, When the City Sleeps, Pelo Bueno. He was born and raised in the Bronx. Is the founder of Grand Concourse Press and considered pizza the greatest food ever created. He's a Yankees fan for life and loves the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix. He has appeared on Def Poetry Jam. You ever seen Def Poetry Jam? Once or twice, little something, HBO thing, and has been published in numerous anthologies and journals, including Quarters, Bum Rush the Page, Roll Call, Learn Then Burn, Mino Habla con Acento, the Centro Journal, the Hostos Review, the Acentos Review, the Calabash Journal, and Palabras. He has performed internationally at venues, colleges, bars, and random stages. Just got back from Puerto Rico. He is the co-band leader of experimental rock band, the Mona Passage, and a founder of the art group, the Kubo. So we're gonna welcome Bonafide, and then we're gonna come with Rich a little bit later. So let's put your hands together for Bonafide Rojas.
Good afternoon. 3 o'clock readings. That's a new one right there. So wait, who's from the Bronx? Raise your hand. Right. Where?
Morris Heights on the 4 line.
Oh, I know it's that. And you?
Fordham.
Fordham.
You can tell Bronx people, they got their own little thing.
Seriously. Fordham. Yeah, right. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me just get my things. You know, as a writer, you just start carrying way too much shit. You're like, oh, let me bring all these things with me. And then sometimes you never even use it. But today I will. I just gotta get, there it is. Don't mind the box. The box comes with me everywhere. It's a very, what is it? A very Pedro Pietri thing. Now it is. Back when I started, it had nothing to do with that. Now it's everyone goes, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Remember that one clip? I thought I showed you. Well, you're not in my class.
Do you remember that? Like, yeah, you a liar.
Oh, there they go over there. Another class.
All right, so I'm gonna read this new piece. Read a couple of new pieces and old pieces. It's called 30 Ways of Looking at a New Yorican. 1, I do not wake up to roosters. I wake up to construction sites and buses. 2, English was fed to me by my television babysitter. 3, I barely know what oceans look like. Orchard Beach and Brighton Beach do not count. 4, rice and beans are in cans. I know how to grow culture, but I barely know how to grow my own food. 5, my skin is pale, my cousin's skin is black. We are called white boy and negro at the same time on the same table. 6, I do not know how to hotwire a car. 7, I have a fear of needles, so being a junkie is out. But being a thief, sometimes. 8, I have more books than articles of clothing. 9, as I remember it, I have been called Jewish more times after I turned 21 for whatever reason. 10, I do not believe in haircuts until I cut my hair again. 11, when riding the train, everyone can be New Yorican, but most are New Yorkers. 12, I once got lost in Queens. 13, I walked into a riot once and immediately walked out. 14, Excelsior. 15, my son and I watch Batman cartoons all day. 16, people make fun of me for not knowing how to drive. Then they visit New York City and they completely understand why. 17, police has stopped me for looking too out of place. I was standing in front of my building. 18, when in London, searching for a Puerto Rican flag is like a needle in a brick wall. 19, Spanish does not make you Nuyorican. English does not make you Nuyorican. 20, Nuyorican dance in their sleep. 21, Pedro, Papoleto, Miguel, Sandra, Luis, Jorge, Tato, and Bimbo walk into a bar and perform magic. Perform beautiful, beautiful magic. 22, my obituary is not written yet. 23, when I returned to Puerto Rico, everyone stared at me and then I spoke. 24, Nuyorican look like everyone. Nuyorican look like no one. 25, my son was born in Chicago, lived in Harlem, moved to Detroit, is Puerto Rican and Irish, but I keep his heart in the Bronx. 26, I am like every Puerto Rican. I am not like every Puerto Rican. 27, in the middle of the bandera is the heart of a Nuyorican, ask Betantes. 28, El Mojro is tattooed on every Nuyorican heart chamber. 29, a Nuyorican and a Puerto Rican walk into a bar and they both ask for a Cuba Libre. 30, Patria. You know, I was at a reading the other day, and I go to a lot of readings. Man, some poets are really fucking boring when they read. I'm just like, man, how do you just sit there and just read it like you're about to kill yourself? I don't know, man. I'm just like, what's wrong with you? Okay, cool. So like Randall said, I just come back from Puerto Rico. I'm like maybe like less than a month, and all these poems are coming out. And it's only been the second time I've been on the island as an adult by myself. You know, family vacations, when you take your son, you don't have no time to really explore things as the writer that you are. So I have all these poems. They're called Notes on the Return to the Island. And they'll all eventually get their own title, but they almost all have the same title right now. So I'm going to read a few of those. Is that okay? All right. This is theoretically one. And this is exactly how it happened. The plane lands, Welcome to the Jungle is playing on my headphones. I'm back on the island, Isla Enchanted, El Yunque, El Mojro, Culebra, Vieques, I know where I am. This has never been more than a dream. A 5-year-old living in Levittown, a 10-year-old vacationing in Bayamon, back on the island that raised me without me even understanding its lessons. There was fun and games, there was sunshine, bad nicknames that lasted a few years before I stopped giving a fuck. Gringos, capitalism, tourism, brought the island to its knees, watched them bleed. I took every trip day by day. There were no bright lights, but montañas to climb, coquis to listen to. The military crawl on their bellies like serpentine demigods, asking you to get high, take a bite, kill your brother, turn your father in for having independent thoughts on the government that captured this enchanted island through war, through colonialism, now injects its own operation. Bootstraps, assimilating. The children make them unaware of their patria, in their tongue, the bombas in the fist, the plenas in their feet. This isla that has been invaded with presidents we don't vote for. Snake charmers who take our taxes. Welcome to the jungle, America. Has created, made the people complacent, manipulated them into statehood enthusiasts sitting on their asses. Our bandera waves below the stars and stripes. Handcuff the future, corporatize the past, control the economics, kill the cattle, colonize the cattle, kill the cattle, colonize the cattle. There are bleeding jibaros in Calle. There are bleeding jibaros in Huanica. There are bleeding jibaros in Loíza. Arm them to defend themselves before someone brings them to their knees to sing their national anthem. Okay, so one of the really big things about being in the island was going to different parts of the island that when you're with family you don't ever get to explore. It's like, I don't want to go. And you're like, all right, yeah, here you go. Stay in the house in Enchanted Island. that I'm rarely ever at. So this time I had a professor who showed me around, and he took me to the southwestern tip of the island called Cabo Rojo, which is utterly amazing. And then I did a bunch of other things all over the place, and so this is that part of it. I was there watching the ocean splash against the new walls of Cabo Rojo that change every season, that have fallen into the ocean, displaying new colors with sea foam sliding down ever so gently. Jose's telling me new stories that I would have never known. I was there as the lighthouse stood majestically closed and quiet, overlooking the Caribbean, hoping to find someone before the border patrols do, to warn them there is colonialism here and the dollar be weary. With the poison you pick, who warns you not to cross the Mona Passage and will shine the light for them and tells them to be careful because Border Patrol is ruthless. I was there climbing down the rocks, hoping I don't have my face ripped apart by the boulders and earth-made shrapnel. I could see the ocean talking to Yamaya, happy to see me baptized in these waters of Playa Sucia, to rise out of the ocean with seaweed in my hair, smell the salt, taste the water, the rocks clip my feet. I don't care. I was there. I was there in the bar in Rio Piedras with Ura Yuang, talking about respected youth from the boogie down to up the street, drinking medalla and listening to really bad bands pretend not to care and noodle around the fretboard while the crowd was happy just to see their friends on stage. And imagine, they made it. Ura Yuang and I repeated the word borracho, and it became the word of the night. Met Yarimil at another bar, where I see Fernandito, a folk singer, playing pool, and we talk about music and the universe. And all the while, there are hundreds of teenage Puerto Ricanos here having their first beer, first kiss, first hangover. I was there in San Dulce, on Avenida Junco, at the very first queer rock show at El Local. And I drank more beer like it was water. The bands sounded like they really enjoyed the Misfits and early Los Angeles punk. Ura Yuang was there. Jose Miguel was there. And he drove us home, swirling across the street like an erratic dolphin, tailgating a drunk cop car, mimicking the moves we made. And somehow, we made it home in one piece. The writing's on the wall. I was there. Read some old stuff. Old stuff. Let's start with, this is my second book. It's called When the City Sleeps, and it's basically a book about New York. I felt at one point, outside of Where a Nickel Costs a Dime, there were no real books fully focused on New York from a Puerto Rican perspective. And initially, it was supposed to be more global. It was going to be like separated by country. And then I realized, and this is about like 10 years ago when I thought of this concept. After I finished Pelo Bueno, I was like, oh, I had the title already in my head. One section will be about Paris, one will be about Cuba, and I was just like, I was like, I'll make it about New York. Because I have way too many poems about New York. So we'll start with the Bronx, is that all right? Who's been to the Bronx before? Raise your hand. Yankee game counts, that's fine, Yankee games count. I love the Yankees. You know, the biggest thing with New York currently is just this conversation about gentrification. And this book is pretty much very anti-gentrification because there's things here that don't exist anymore. But I'll read this one piece. It's called Conversations with Don Carlos. And Don Carlos is this old dude, like, he's a Don. You know, that's what these fake titles that we give ourselves. He was this old dude that literally hung out in front of my building every day for years. Always real spiffy, had the little hat on, danced salsa better than all of us. He was short too, like this tall. He was like my friend's, like some kid's father. It was more like my sister's friends. And when my mom moved out of the apartment, we've been there since the 70s. He's one of the few people my mom asked for. So I made up this conversation that him and I had. They are planting trees on the street repainted the buildings, and the graffiti is off the walls. This is the gentrification of the Bronx. Don Carlos is an 87-year-old man who stands in front of my building every day, dressed as if a game of dominoes is still the social event it used to be. He has been here since 1953. Same apartment, same cool straw hat, same strut, and is being pushed out by the increase in rent and the changing landscape of the boulevard. These building pipes, 30 years my seniors, have been redone, new kitchen, new bathrooms, new everything. With the influx of young professionals, the landlord believes he can make more with the youth than be loyal to the tenants who have supported him since the 50s. He has raised the rent $300 more. An 87-year-old man whose English consists of, hello, thank you, you look very lovely today, señorita, with an English accent probably taught by television. He is what's beautiful about my street. His vivaciousness for life should be studied, dances salsa better than all of us, and he's been told to leave the premise in 90 days. He's never missed a month of rent, he's never been on welfare, his Social Security was wonderful in the 80s and the 90s, pero, you know, things are getting real hard, aren't they, hijo de fela? And I nod my head, and I hope he knows what we're talking about. He speaks to me in his raspy voice, and I see the tears in his eyes, tells me he'll probably find a new home or another apartment. And he asks me, what does gentrification mean? And I tell him it's a term used by the city to make things beautiful. And he asks, pero for who? I tell him, I don't know, Don Carlos. You know, I've seen the streets overrun with kids playing stickball, football, when the weather and the sun decide to cooperate, seen children grow up and have children like you, hijo de fela. How is your mother? She's fine, growing old gracefully, he says. She's a good woman. Always spoke to me with respect. I have been here majority of my life. Puerto Rico is nothing but a past of postcards. I ride the train more than carro público, and when I arrived here, I knew I would never need to drive again. And I agree with him. He gives me a compliment on my hair and loud guitar playing he hears in the morning. Tells me he hopes he stays because he thinks nothing will ever be more beautiful than the view he has in the morning. With the sun creeping in over the church across the street, fills the room with heat and light. That has been my gallo since 1953. And I bless the Lord every day when I get out of bed. I love having the privilege to see this city. You, hijo de fela, write that in a poem. Yes, sir, Don Carlos. All right, let me take it in hand for a little bit. And all these poems, like, I'm gonna read everything, ha ha ha. A 4-hour poetry reading. You're like, no, I got things to do, yo. Yeah. Rich is like, no, come on. Rich is like, yo, what the Okay. And then this is probably one of the older pieces in the book. It's called The Gloaming, a West Side Postcard. 7 o'clock in the evening, I'm sitting by the window on the 1 train. The sun is descending, night's approaching like a thief. I don't like comparing dusk to a thief. Thieves are much darker than the night. I've always loved high rises on the west side, but not upper west side privilege. Observe the brick and steel and how it's placed to separate the masters and their dogs. Whenever I would reach the top, I would never want to come down, but I would find it weird to see ants hail taxis and drive Jaguars. I love looking at eyes all the time, whether staring or closed, like abandoned buildings smiling with an orange sunset on their lips. This wave of light curling over the hills that Manhattan has on the west side, crowned with mausoleums and St. John the Divine, stretched out as flat as possible. The west side walls are 50 feet high. The hobos walk the tracks. from the freedom tunnels that will soon become another high rise. You can't hide poverty underneath the mask of Central Park. These streets swallow the lights that you'll never see. I didn't know I loved the sky, cloudy or clear, as it opens up over New Jersey and stretches to California. I've always loved trees as they hover over you and whisper in your ear. There are no tears when they shed their leaves because they will be beautiful again. And I love roads, but I don't drive and probably will never will. But I love the asphalt, the granite, the tar, the cracks on his face. The world flows past, both sides, distant and mute. I was never so close to anyone in life except on a rush hour train from Wall Street to Times Square. The battery-operated entrepreneur stopped me on a station between here and there. At 18, my life consisted of everything I could fit in my bag. From Che to Neruda to Camus to Cobain, my bag could take as much as I can give it, but at 18, my life is valued less than now. And I've written this somewhere before, wandering through wanderlust streets, playing hide and seek with police officers on beat during graveyard shifts, and a paper giant leading the way. I remember loving the stars from my roof, watching them from the fire escape. Cosmonauts are like stars, much bigger than comets, but look like small diamonds on black velvet. And this heart of mine that was in my mouth, looking at them with an endless desire to grasp them, seeing them, I could even think of death. And not feel at all sad, because if death is becoming a star, then so be it. I never knew I loved the cosmos as much as I do. And I love the sun when it sets cherry red on Manhattan. And it sometimes sets in postcard colors, but I can never paint it that way. How can you paint the gloaming? The tunnels roar like coarse hands and shattered glass and palpitating hearts and tangled countries. And I don't know why I love this city, but all these passions sprawling forth, sitting by the one train. Is it because I'm alone, or is it because I'm half dead from traveling uptown or downtown? And this train is going underneath. And now the tunnels and their small lights are infinitely laughing at me. And the train plunges through the pitch black night. Sparks fly, and I watch the world disappear as if on a journey of no return. So this is my third book. It's called Renovatio. And in When the City Sleeps, there's a poem I have about heartbreak, which of course, you know, we all know how those poems end up. And there's a line in there. It was called "Reinvention is a beautiful thing the morning after you die." And it was this haiku that I had. And I wrote it right after a really bad breakup. So when I started writing this book, it really should have been called Reinventus, but I'm not gonna beat myself in the head over it, because I want it to be more like reinvention instead of renovation. But it's okay, you know. Shit happens for a reason. So these poems are a bit different. You know, there's a whole chapter here about my father who passed away in 2012. And you know, I don't think he heard any of the poems here. And most people don't ever I don't tell people about it usually. So they're like, "Oh, that was a nice poem." Then again, to these these are bleak ass poems. I go, you know, it's the beauty of poetry. It's all therapy sometimes. So I'm gonna read you a couple of pieces from here. It's called "Note to Self to Put on the Refrigerator." Remember to pace yourself. Breathe. Know that this is not the end. Ramble less. Think more. Smile even more. Unlearn your aggression. Be more optimistic. Be less pessimistic. Understand that this is easier said than done. Say your prayer once in a blue. And don't even call it a prayer. Call it talking to yourself like it actually is. It'll be good to hear yourself talk. Wake up and say thank you for another day. Cook your own meals, even the bad ones. Feed your soul. Drink less soda. Yes, I said less soda. I am obviously talking to myself here. Today I drank way too much soda to complain about this. Tomorrow will be juices and water. Let's hope this routine sticks. Love your body. You only have one at a time. When your back hurts, rest. When your legs hurt, rest. When your eyes hurt, rest. I am telling myself to rest. And I hope I read this often. Tell your son you love him dearly. Tell him so much it annoys him. One day he'll say thank you. Tell your mother you love her because she annoys you now. And know you will miss her dearly whenever it's her time. But for now, she's a spark plug. Love your art and your art will love you back. Love your pain, it will heal everything. Love your friends because they are patient with you. Love your enemies because they are potential friends. Stop being a sarcastic asshole. Stop being standoffish. Stop being a know-it-all. Stop being a thief. Stop being a liar. Stop being everything you learned when you were a boy that you felt protected you from the things that scared you, but you're an adult now, which really means that you have more bills. And now only be scared of what you don't try. Be scared of what could have been. Be scared of the version of yourself you know could have been better if you dropped all the bullshit in life. The ones that weigh your arms down. Then you have no time to do beautiful things. The things you like to do. Like write, play guitar, have a drink, eat pizza, look for a new blazer, find some new shoes. Some things are worthy of being routine. Others should be slightly erased so you can see the lines but not the whole action. Be grateful and say thank you when it is needed. It'll bring out a smile. And smiles are beautiful. But remember to pace yourself and be patient. I'm sorry. One more. Yeah, no, I'm like one more. Yeah.
I want to say two, man.
Yeah, I don't want to, Richard get mad at me. But you'll be like, yo, get the fuck off already, yo. Read all your stupid poems. Damn, yo, taking a mad time and shit.
You know I'm here.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just reading your mind, B. All right. Cool. So what I want the audience to do right now, I want you guys to give me 3 minutes, but I want you to close your eyes while I read the poem. And all I want you to do is listen to the poem. Don't look at the performer. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Don't look at the hair. Just listen to what the poem is. Because sometimes we get caught up in the entertainer, but you don't listen to the message. You don't listen to what the writer is saying. This is called Just As the Day Was Dawning. Remember, I can see you, so don't stare at me and be like, oh, I don't like closing my eyes. I don't know these people. I'm like, yeah, great. Don't worry, if someone steals something, I'll see it. All right. Stand in the spot where the sun stands, the warmest natural spot you can find. And then sit down and let everything go. Forgive people who have been evil towards you, who have tried to crumble your spine with rumors of your worthlessness. Do not believe them. They know nothing of you. They do not know how your body levitates when you sleep. They do not know how the wind takes turns learning how to spin from you. Forgive yourself for the absent-minded moments of compassionlessness. We are flawed machines. We are allowed to fail. And in our failure is where we grow and where we learn. Forgive your past, for it is filled with wrong decisions, wrong men, and wrong women, with hateful interludes where your life was still too new for you or anyone else to understand it properly. Forgive your present, for the immaturity we still carry at times, and we forget we are grown, but not grown. That is all based on perspective. If we never experience new things, how are we to grow? Our age means nothing in an age of monotony. We use it to track things like progress, process, and product. We are perfect organisms of flesh, blood, and water. See how the sun and heat feel in our skin. See how they work in unison. We are interconnected. The sky is not for you. The sky is with you. The ocean is not for you. The ocean is with you. The food is not for you. The food is with you. The animals are not for you. The animals are with you. Know your place. Know your purpose. Do not accept imperialism as a way of life. Do not accept capitalism as a way of life. Do not accept hate as a way of life. Do not accept love as a way of life. Find your balance in everything you do. And some will work correctly, and some will fail horribly. But understand each process. Know your place in your skin, and then your skin in your environment, and then your environment in the world, and then the world in the universe, and then the universe in the universe in the universe, and see how wonderfully small and large we are at the same exact time. Let the beauty of everything be your beauty of everything. Be the beauty of everything. Thank you very much. Please stick around for a rich VR.
All right, let's give Bonafide a round of applause. just for the, the case, right? All right, you with me? All right. Rich Villar is a writer, performer, editor, activist, and educator originally from Paterson, New Jersey. His first collection of poems, Comprehending Forever, won the Editor's Choice from the Willow Books Literature Awards in 2013 and was published by Willow Books the following year. A little note, the book Comprehending Forever that you read has recently been nominated as a finalist for the International Latino Literature Award, correctly, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so definitely definitely give him a round of applause for that. He's a 2-time Pushcart Prize nominee for both his prose and poetry. Let's see. On the radio, he has been heard on WBAI 99.5 in New York and on the long-running NPR News and Magazine, Latino USA. Latino USA since 2008. He has served as curator for La Casita at Lincoln Center. He's all over the place. Rich is a great organizer of artists. He does a lot of organizing in New York, reading series and things of that nature. One of the best to do it. Bonafide, come on.
No, he cracked his joke.
All right, you've read the book. Now you see the man, Rich Villar.
Well, how y'all doing? Good. Well, okay. Here's the thing, right? So I have not stopped since yesterday, and I'm like really kind of feeling like one of those batteries that's kind of run down on your cell phone. So I'm going to try my best to keep my energy up, and the way to do that is by giving some energy back. So if you want to clap a lot, if you want to laugh, if you want to go back there and make fun of Bonafide, whatever you want to do, do that shit. Exactly. So what I'm going to do, I got 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is kind of structure this slightly differently. I'm going to read some poems from the book, and then I'm going to do like an interlude of newer work. I think sort of responding to Bone, because I got some work too. So we can have like a cohesive sort of, conversation. And then I'll end off with some more poems from the book, which is called Comprehending Forever. The irony of this particular title is that it's a book of love poems, right? And it's all about this relationship that I was in during.
They were trying to figure out your story. Trust me.
Well, the funny thing is, I think you could find the story in the line structure. If you look at how broken it is and how long and short and then. But what you don't know is the ultimate irony of the book is that the relationship did not last forever. It was a year of my life. And so if you look at, some of the more volatile relationships you're in, some of those line breaks will make sense, because it's very short and then it's very, very long. And then some of the sentences are like, but I love you, that kind of stuff. Now you get it.
Rich, how did it go?
But I love you.
Poetry, people.
That's
Poetry.
literally,
Poetry.
seriously, that's literally what it was like.
That's poetry, children. Poetry.
I mean, she only knew how much shit I talked on a regular basis about that relationship. It'd be hilarious. Okay, so the book starts and ends with like a prelude and a coda, and I will read both those poems as sort of like an indicator of where we are in the book. These are in chronological order. Normally people, write these things and then they, shuffle the order and do all kinds of shit. I didn't do that. It just came out and boop, there it is. And that was it. This is a prelude. At night, you chase the sunrise. At daybreak, you covet the brightening moon. Every 8 minutes, the sun ignites and extinguishes every sacred point and holy city in every world you know and those you don't. You are already dead. You are already born again. Be still, amor. God desires passage, and you are her compass. Right. I have this down here a little bit. Okay. Okay. Let's go with November. I was born in November. Yes, Scorpios indeed. Scorpios, yo.
That's why you're in the position you're in.
November 7th. Yeah, you ain't lying. November 7th, 1977. Which,
Yo, seriously?
yeah.
You know, I'm only a month older than you.
Yes, I know. I know. Believe me, I know. I hear that shit all the time.
Totally dated ourselves right there.
That's all right. The thing about it is, if you count some of these lines up and you think about where November falls on the calendar, that's another key to read the book. 11s recur, 7s recur. Yeah, now you're gonna go home and read the book. Y'all laughing because it's true. Yeah, shit. Quiz Monday morning. What did he say about 11s?
7-Eleven.
November. Yeah. Waxing Crescent. She loves me in Chinatown. $5 from the moon girl's hand to an old woman selling respite from rain. I guard her lips, strong coffee in a cup, something suede. How she cradles the weight of me in her hands. How she ends me. 7 long times, under subway bench, F-train, her moving muses. Waxing gibbous. She loves me in the rain, but only because she's under my umbrella. Paterson is not Corcovado, and the E-train is not El Yunque, and I am more a rum person than a wine person. But I will brown bag grapes from Argentina because Stan Getz is a Jersey boy at heart, and I will hold her for the whole 15 blocks, shield her lips from drowning. Full. Water across 5 smooth stones, sweat beating. Cuatro in my trained hands. Niña en la costa de mi cariño. Quiero olvidarme de que soy marino. Merlot fingers on double strings resonating. She never needed rum to see me, only hands. Waning gibbous. She loves me because Chance has an address. We could have found out about Corcovado at a marble table on 11th and 6th. I could have used it as subterfuge to brush her hand with mine. The radio could have started playing it and we could have laughed. We could have watched wonder creep across our faces in Portuguese. We could have walked home. Waning crescent. She loves me because sunset is yunque, gray, fire, and rain. The Bay of Luquillo is a kaleidoscope. Aquamarine veil lowered across our eyes. Here I wrote my first words. Here the sonnets start at your waistline. When I speak, the moon rises. Every sunset is a beach I want to write your name in. Okay, we're all adults, right? This one's called Transgression. Well, I know about you. I don't know about you. We're gonna figure you out later. This is called Transgression after Dorian Lux. It is a slow kiss climbing, then descending. It is a slow eye closing behind your navel. I marvel at your abdomen quivering, a congregation of neurons crashing against the shoreline of your waist. I am playing the cuatro again, the notes resonating in my fingers. Choirs raise their hands to God, who you have already called once. I am breathing poems into your neck. You breathe a book back into the air, pages burning, rising, and falling in Spanish. Ay, papi, te necesito. Así, mi amor. Sí, papi, mamita, no te apures. Tenemos la noche entera. And we do have the entire night. 2 spines, collarbones, your breasts against my chest, fingertips in slow grind, bundle of pulses, heartbeat keeping time, lips and tongue and lungs in symphony. Slow down, slow down. You want me this second, in 10 seconds, on Bleecker, where you first imagined a saxophone, where you leaned your body into mine and said, let me go. Let me practice the art of enactment tonight, the letting go, the meandering tongue. Let me have you in plain sight. Let me lift you toward heaven in our time, in bossa nova's dawn creeping up on us like a held note. You notice my man actually had to shut the door right before that poem. Yo. I must be calling something down. I don't know. Woo. Who that poem was fun to write. Anyway, this is a poem called Psalm for the First Light. It's after Jack Agüeros. If you do not know who Jack Agüeros is, you need to know. Jack Agüeros is the quintessential Nuyorican poet. He was born in 1934, which means that he came before a lot of those Nuyorican writers. Yes?
Can you give him a recap? They might not know.
Okay, what a Nuyorican is that's sort of a cross between a New Yorker and a Puerto Rican. There's a Nuyorican movement of writers who came up like in the 60s and the 70s, and they had sort of all this poetry that talked about identity and talked about politics, because these were folks who came from Puerto Rico, or their parents came from Puerto Rico, and their identities were brand new. So they had to kind of form a new one out of this New York thing and this Puerto Rico thing. And Jack Agüeros was the quintessential Nuyorican because he was 1934, which means that he came before lox and bagels and all that stuff. And then, but then had the, all the things that were wrapped up with that. He also translated Julia de Burgos, who is the national poet of Puerto Rico. So, and he also wrote these psalms. And this is my psalm for Jack. This is called Psalm for the First Light. Well, it's not for Jack. Well. Lord, I have always wanted a woman to share first light with. Let her be Puerto Rican, Lord, with brown eyes and good humor and lips. Oh, Lord, let her have lips. Let her always kiss me the way shadows kiss dawn. Let her kiss be the dark streaks between sunbeams. Negative space that says yes, then no, then yes. Let her kiss be the thing that separates wakefulness from dreaming. Let her kiss like there is no difference. Lord, I have always wanted a woman whose kiss is like the first light. Lorca, your servant, wrote about this. Dawn in New York, he called it. Let her kiss render even Lorca mute, powerless. A blank page he needs to fill with bullfights. Let even first light weep at its insufficiency. I grew up in, moving into the newer work now, I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. Whoop, whoop. All right, so northern New Jersey is kind of like New York, except slower and more horizontal. We don't have a bunch of vertical buildings unless you go to Jersey City. Very early on, there was this mix of English and Spanish experience almost in northern New Jersey in the 80s when I grew up. And there was a poem called Improvisation on Yiddish by Robert Pinsky, former U.S. Poet Laureate, and I decided to take my take on that. This is called Improvisation on Spanglish. It is as close to a biographical poem as I've written. And, well, here we go. Biographical, but it's also a little bit about the stuff we celebrate as writers of color, which sometimes can be a little problematic, to put it that way. I am in complete agreement. Acho si. Abbreviated muchacho, which means boy, plus a C for yes. As in, yes, boy, acho si. That surely is an amazing pastel, acho si. Mira que clase pastel que, grandecito. Look at the size of this damn pastel. Imagine being drowned in green bananas and root vegetables with names your children do not know until your fingers bleed. Add pork. Acho si. This is a pastel. I am in complete agreement. The word grandecito is the diminutive form of big and does not exist. But in Puerto Rico, there are big diminutive things. Your cousin Manny, for instance. Who we call grandecito, de cariño. Not gordo, not fat. Grandecito de cariño, the little big man from the place of affection. Desde un lugar de amor, un lugar de amor. A place of love. Or what your tío, uncle, calls aquel viejo motel. That old motel in La Ruta 46 on Route 46, where he used to take your tía, aunt, on diner runs after the Polish church in Garfield converted its meeting hall into a salsa club, not far from where Manny was born soon thereafter. Immediately, he breaks into song. Aquel viejo motel trae recuerdo el día que te hice mujer. Tú te negabas, yo insistiendo, pero después fuimos cayendo. Don't say yes, that's bad. Al dulce abismo que pretendes esconder. And then he cackles and grabs your tia's ass on her way to the cocina. La cocina, the place where all memories begin. La sala, the place where Manny used to watch Thundercats. Acho sí, tia says, ese fucking muchacho. Every day at 4 with the same shit. La misma mierda. Did you know he used to get in trouble with the other kids for telling them he was the Lord of the Thundercats and they had to do everything he told them? No sé de dónde sacó esa mierda. Which means he didn't get that shit from my side of the family. Acho. I hate that song, she says. Acho, no. She is not in agreement. Okay. There was a gentrification poem somewhere in there. So I'm going to read a sestina ending with an ars poetica, or often I write poems that have a failed political agenda. Ask if you are willing. You will learn a history of motion that is neither science nor conversation, but prayer. No one need convince you of strangers who visit at night. They speak as tangibly as our mothers. A drawn breath conjures flesh without logic, sudden bosques and barrios we never visited. Every Christmas reconstitutes a bloodline once thought lost to antiquity. You will wrap your bloodline in a banana leaf and boil it. Teach yourself the art of motion, impossible jet travel, Fajardo, Humboldt Park, El Barrio, whisper intently, blessing $2 plastic, sending a prayer in your baby's luggage. Struggle inhabits every breath, literally. 14th to Houston, sleep apnea, asthmatic nights, the Con Ed plant, Art Deco monstrosities erected overnight. We used to know that hands in the soil invent the bloodline inheriting earth. But we have had to learn under our breath to never mistake the holy for the commonplace. Motion, the instinct we were not born with. Lovemaking is prayer when you choose to raise babies away from the barrio that taught you what America means and doesn't. The barrio that darts and stalks. Love that walks with you by night to the train. Love repeating survival instructions like prayer. Those practicing the science of politics know your bloodline is already dead. Securities, rates of exchange, slow motion, benign neglect, closing off your father's windpipe. Even breath, yes, even the inhale and exhale itself, green and negotiable breath. And you will bend your neck to thank them. Coño, el barrio never been cleaner. Activists march in forward motion, elected and re-elected, photographed on glamorous nights of Malbec and Bustelo, recycled and resold bloodlines of canned beans and frozen tostones. God heard our prayer, right? We upwardly noble now, man. Hashtag prayer replaced by tweets and Facebook postings about bad breath. Nobo Chinche is going to write that book, pana. What bloodline will be left to come home to when you've replaced a barrio with a dozen identical skyscrapers, redlining the night sky itself? No, I don't play poet. I am question. I am motion. I set humanity on fire, transform motion into prayer. I break night fearlessly. I conjure nations. My breath alone resurrects the barrio. My bloodline always alive, insistent. Randall, 2 more?
Yeah, two more work.
2 more work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about 6, 7.
Okay, that'll work. She's got to leave. I'll see you soon. All right. You signed the paper. You don't want to not get credit for sitting here, shit.
Bet you sit back down, man.
You bet you sit right. You gonna sit back down and get some credit.
Oh, just sign the paper 1 and 2.
Okay. This is a section in the book of Ars Poetica poems. And as I recall, the Ars Poetica number 6 was the one that you can read backwards and forwards. Okay. She's pumped. That's awesome. All right. All right. Well, good. Should I read it fast?
All of them got a signed poem to break down. I think that was your poem, right?
All right. All of the feels. Oh, shit. Yo, you know you've made it as a poet when you are potentially a hashtagable item. Just saying.
I've arrived.
Well, I've arrived. Book awards and shit, you know. You on panels talking about $40 million grants, but you a hashtag now, motherfucker. That's where you're at. That is indeed what's up. Okay. Number 6. Ars Poetica number 6. I want nothing. Stand in front of me and smile like the sunrise you never asked for. You were the cup from which I poured out the end of never. I am the page from which you cannot be erased. Write yourself. Use the pen that most loves your hand. Let there be no breaks in your prose until the story is ready to end. Let the story never end. Let there be shelves of us left behind, perfectly disordered volumes. Love like this. Love yourself in your darkest days. You break open like an egg. Teach me how to unbreak. I love you purely. Love my imperfect body. Night is the grave I rose from, the day I loved you at dawn. I don't remember reading that poem ever. That's probably the first time. Well, thank you. No, thank you. Shit. I wouldn't have read it if it wasn't for you. Okay. Let's see if I can squeeze a short one in there. I had the nerve to send this poem to Poetry Magazine. What the hell's wrong with me? No.
Have you been in there yet?
Nah, not yet. I'm gonna get in there.
It's a whole new thing.
If I have to break in that motherfucker, I'll get in there. I'll break into Don Cher's house at 3 in, leave him poems on his breakfast table. Yo, son, read that shit. I'd have broke in your house for that. Ignore me? Ignore you? No. All right, let's do an obad. Y'all know what an obad is? It's a love song at dawn. The muse of this book was a bartender, so often we did not have the luxury of, mid-afternoon. Shit was, either really, 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 really early in the morning or really, really late at night, but everything else was kind of, up in the air. So I'm going to read Obad at 12:56 and then the last poem, and then we're done. Obad at 12:56 p.m. The draft in your windows wakes you. A jazz man reads you D.H. Lawrence, wishing your waist was muted trumpet. Your moans the notes to Corcovado. The sun refuses the order to shine, to bathe your closed eyes in winter glow, the deep red purpose of your bedroom. I will compose an ode to the Triborough Bridge, the dervish upon which the city spins, wishing I was Miles, playing what is not there. I will love you at 12:56 p.m. Wake you open-hearted and magnificent, thunderstruck stargazer. I will make love to you because you are a city. Questioning light among descending clouds, orange blanket drifting up, then down, touching fingers, creator and creation. Speak softly when you rise, yours is the kingdom of heaven. Hold me like a hand at mid-afternoon, dreaming the Portuguese words for stay forever, or swim with me to the eternal. Dream me the word in Portuguese for what we are building. All right. And here is the last poem of the book, so Coda. Like all good things, well, not all good things, but this particular good thing comes to an end. And there you go. I was awakened under the stars, and I was loved. Stories of physics and time travel blossomed in your mouth like the light of 1,000 years, traveled into what I understood to be my eyes. A star is gravity and time squeezing energy into the kisses I freely gave. This is how I know about transforming, that love is the only permanent thing and the only explanation for why a day is a year or a white butterfly. I was at the edge of the Palisades where my soul testified and every star carried you in a 1,000-year journey to my fingers, which are this book, which I now send back into the vacuum to greet another stargazer, standing on another shore in a world I haven't seen yet, but will. I loved in a manner unbecoming of the way the world would prefer me. I've had time to be alone, to be cynical and altogether ordinary, never forgetting the rain, the night, 11 blocks of a metered city running to greet you. I loved intentionally, in spite of the tears that said no to 11th Street. Love, stand still and stare into the sky. Find me, you always do. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Randall, for having us. Thank you for having me, man.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
One more round of applause for Rich.
Yeah.
And actually, I figured we got maybe a couple of questions before I know we kind of, pressed for time. But I know some of my students actually read Rich's book, and then they might have a question or two for Bonafide. So if you got any, come on up, Bonafide. That's what's good about having friends. I can just ring. They cool. So anyway, right. Come on up here now. Does anyone have any questions for Rich? Yes. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay. See ya.
Maybe biostone still makes it. Where are all these sounds coming from? Exactly. Hi, okay. My question is for you, Rich. I don't know if we've read your book in our creative writing class, and one of the images, or two images that occurs often is red and strawberries. Is there a reason for that? Because that's in most of your poems.
John Rodriguez was a friend of mine, passed away, poetry critic.
Yeah, you can take that out. Yeah.
Is there a particular reason for it? Yes. You want to know what that reason is, don't you? Well, some things are public and some things are not. That's what I will tell you. But
Adult stuff.
not even adult stuff. It's just, those are one of those things that, sometimes you think of an image or you think of language and you think that it's not going to resonate because it's too personal. And if you go to a writing workshop, oftentimes they'll tell you that. They'll be like, well, this image doesn't work because only you understand that. I'm lucky to have mentors in my life to tell me, bullshit. That's the image you want to use because it is so unusual and so strange and it stands out like that. If it works in the context of the poem and it made you think about what was going on between the muse and the poet, then I did my job. And that's all there is to it. As to what that means, I'll leave that to you. You can interpret it.
Is it the first time someone's asked you that question?
What's that?
Was it the first time someone has made that observation?
It is not the first time. The first time was my friend John. He made that observation at over a chuleta at
they were
Brisas
trying to
del
ask me about it.
Caribe. Are you familiar with Brisas del Caribe in the Bronx in Castle Hill?
No.
Well, that restaurant is where we edited the book, in your borough, right?
You don't know
BX.
where it is.
I'm not from Castle Hill.
Where you from?
Morris Heights on the 4 line. Castle Hill's on the 6.
Man, whatever.
4 to 6 is all.
For most people, they don't give. Right, it's an East Side West Side thing, but it's interesting. It's interesting to me that one poet from the Bronx didn't like it. Another poet from the Bronx was like, "Yo, what's that about?" And they want to know about it, and it makes them curious. So
Madly.
Man, we gotta talk later. She came to meet you guys. We'll talk. But anyway,
Where you from?
I'm not gonna.
Sit out when you're called out.
She's the Bronx. I'm not even gonna. I'll let y'all can get on her later.
Ain't that much of a
Yo, she just walked in the door. You already make an enemy, son. What the hell? We're trying to leave you in one piece, dog.
She got here, B.
True.
We're all family. Introduce yourself.
I was in class.
And who are you and what organization do you represent?
Okay, I'm Esperanza Humphrey. I'm the president of the Alphalanda chapter of Hermandad de Sigma Iota Alpha Incorporada.
Delta, Delta, Delta.
No.
Can I help you?
No, that's a pop culture reference.
And I am from the Bronx.
Where?
Like Pelham, the 6th line.
Where?
Like
Yeah, I know the Bronx like the back of
West,
my
the
hand.
Westchester Square area. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, they have the spot on that.
Okay, I got a question for Bone. I got a couple more questions. Can you talk a little bit about, we talk about this sometimes in my class, about, your interpretation of page versus stage?
Sure. I don't know. Well, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me? Like, I want to make sure you hear me. He even closed his eyes when he was doing the thing. He was like,
Yeah, just hold on to it. It's probably better.
yeah, whatever. So page versus stage. I think I have different relationships for both. But I think after a particular point, I made a conscious decision that my relationship with the page was more important, because my performing style isn't really a performing style. I like to read off paper. I like to hold books when I read. I like to show audiences that a writer has written a book, and it's not really about entertainment. I think for me it's about displaying the message and displaying the dedication I have as a writer. One of the things I said during the high school thing was, there's a point in time that every person here, black, white, male, female, we couldn't read. We weren't allowed to read or write. If you were a housewife, you were a housewife and this is what you did. If you were a person of color, no one wanted you to read unless there was a significance for you to do that. But now at this point, we get so obsessed with memorizing things and putting on a good show that it changes the whole nature of the poem. No one's ever going to read most of my poems the way I do. I'm a little louder than most people. And I think the rhythm pattern is some of the things that they won't catch unless they read it. And, I think for me, first and foremost, it has to work on the page first. It has to look good on the page, because a poem's supposed to be on a page first, it's supposed to be in a book first. And you keep that kind of tradition. Performing and reading out loud is really nice. I think but for me, if I had to choose, it will always be having more books published than performing on stage. Now, will I get paid as much is a whole different conversation.
Well, it's interesting. I want them to always be aware of what other writers think about, because, these guys sort of came up in that tradition in a lot of ways when you're talking about, performing and running.
Yeah, no, when I was younger, yeah, that's exactly what he did, and he won that way. But when I was younger,
Rich was slang. He was a funny guy, man. He really had.
Yeah, he has sarcasm down packed pretty well. But when I was younger, I read really fast. Like I got nervous like anyone else did, and people were like, "Yo, you read that? Why were you reading so fast?" I go, "Because I don't want to be up there, man. Like, who wants to be up there?" And it's a very egotistical thing to be up here and assume that people want to listen to you. It's different. But like reading a book, I think it's always easier. Being read to is a nice thing. People don't understand that.
All
Right, Rich?
And unfortunately, we got to stop it right here. I'm gonna stop it right here. I'm gonna ask all of my students who brought their books to get them published. To get them signed. Bonafide is going to publish your book.
Oh, great! More manuscripts to read.
Let's give Rich and Bonafide another round of applause. Come up and talk to them. Thank them. Get your book signed. Thank everybody.